Good day all, and welcome to my review video for The Doctor Falls, which is final episode of Series 10 and Peter Capaldi's penultimate episode. So what did I think? It was definitely an improvement. Well, actually the last two episodes of the series were a definite improvement over the previous 10, which, to be honest, I've also made this clear in my other videos. I think that they were completely lackluster. Was it a perfect episode? No. Still good. Is it the best season finale? Again, no, but still better. So let's just touch on a few points in the episode. So the big thing, well, one of the biggest things was the return of John Sim as the Master and watching him play against Michelle Gomez. I noticed that Sim, he seemed to play the Master a little bit differently this time. And it's been 7 years, actually almost 8 years, since he last played the Master. And this is obviously, we're seeing this iteration of the Master at the end of his life. I actually wished I would have seen more of John Sim. That was kind of one of the main things I was looking forward to in the episode. As for the Cybermen, this has been kind of an ongoing complaint I've had throughout all of New Who, where whenever they are there, they're not really the center. They're basically just set pieces used for some other story arc. And that was the case again. And I don't know. I just find they've been underused in New Who as a whole, and this is not just a Stephen Moffat thing. This was also a Russell T Davies thing. So, the obviously spoiler, but I'm sure you know this now. So, a new twist on Regeneration, which this something new and something that wasn't predictable. I was actually pleased with because everything else, or mostly everything else in the season, has been entirely too predictable. But we see the Doctor refusing to regenerate, or the Doctor doesn't want to regenerate. I've seen some people compare this to the departure of David Tennant, but to be honest, it's actually it's a completely different set of circumstances. When we're looking at Doctor number 10, this version of the Doctor was basically in love with himself, had previously regenerated into himself, and didn't want to go because he liked being the 10th Doctor. So that was more vanity, it's one of the issues that I've always had with that particular regeneration. In this one, it's not so much that the Doctor likes being the Capaldi version. In fact, I think he's generally been kind of indifferent on it. It's that the Doctor doesn't want to change again. He doesn't want to live as another person. So it's basically he would rather die than relive as the 13th, 14th incarnation of himself, 15th if you want to count the double Tennant Doctors. He's had enough. And I guess it seems like the Doctor actually does die. And kind of the way the regeneration is brought back, I didn't necessarily like this. Bill's tears bring him back. Kind of enough of the power of love thing. But then he comes back, and then again still refuses to regenerate. And then we get to the very end of the episode, and this I'm kind of torn on. And I honestly had a different reaction to it when I saw it the second time as opposed to the first time. So at the end, the Doctor meets the first Doctor, once again played by David Bradley, who obviously played William Hartnell in An Adventure in Time and Space. An Adventure in Space and Time. It's kind of the reverse of what the TARDIS name is in terms of the name of the special. So the Doctor refuses to regenerate. He meets up with Doctor number 1. This is kind of an issue that I've always had with the 5 Doctors as well. I think the first 3 Doctors, because the actors are no longer present, I'm of course talking about William Hartnell, John Pertwee, and Patrick Troughton. I don't know, I think that should just be left alone. And I didn't like it in the 5th Doctor. It's actually side note, the Fifth Doctor's, I've never actually considered the Five Doctors. It's really the three Doctors, because two of them, well, one was had passed away by that point, and the other one, aka Tom Baker, wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. So the first time I saw it, I'm like, well, this is really cool. It's David Bradley. It's the first Doctor. But then as I started thinking about it, I'm like, no, to be honest, I think I would rather have that left alone. And one tendency that Moffat has had throughout the show is unending fan service. It actually wasn't as bad in Series 10 as it has been in previous series, which I guess is one of the few bright points of the series. But a lot of it is fan service, and I'm sure it will be an interesting episode. And David Bradley's an awesome actor, so I have no issues right there. It just kind of the idea of recasting a different role in an incarnation of the Doctor, kind of like had they recast Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor in Day of the Doctor. I would have. Yeah, I like the idea of refusing to regenerate, wanting this to be the end of his life cycle, but I don't like the direction necessarily that Moffat has gone in this, although I am intrigued. For the first time in a couple years, I'm actually interested to see where this is going, because frankly I've been bored to tears with the last couple seasons of Doctor Who. So there is that, but there's the fan service question and the recasting, which are the two issues that I have, but I can't really come to a definitive idea or theory on this or overview because I haven't seen where this is going. So we'll see when the Christmas special. And to be honest, at one point I was even thinking of giving up on the show completely after this season just because I was bored. But I'm intrigued enough to see where this is going. Now, with regards to the obvious question, there were suggestions all throughout the episode, albeit kind of undertones of changing genders. I think I've come to my own definitive view on this, even though in the past I'd said I would accept it if it made narrative sense. I'm backing away on that, and this, has nothing to do with the fact that, I'm trying to overtly discriminate against certain groups, but the idea of changing the gender of the Doctor, I'm sorry, it's not acceptable. He's a white male. I know that's a swear word these days, but the Doctor is a white male. And he's a white British male. I suppose I could be offended because I'm Canadian. Well, why not recast him as a Canadian? No, he's a white British male. That's what he's been since 1963. And changing the gender, which is being hinted at more and more, frankly, will be the end of the show. The Doctor Who is on very shaky ground right now. Even the ratings for the series finale are not what they could have been. And playing some political bullshit with the Regeneration will be the end of the show. A large proportion of the people that are still watching will leave. It'd be the same thing if, say, we were to recast Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We recast Buffy as a male. I think we would all agree that would not be acceptable. And I love Buffy. It's one of my all-time favorite shows, period. Or Agent Scully from the X-Files is suddenly recast as a male. Sarah Connor is recast as a male. Kind of see where I'm going here? So if those are not acceptable, then why would it be acceptable to arbitrarily change the gender of the Doctor? And I know the argument that will be put forth is, well, we've seen this the past few years. Yes, we've seen this the past few years because Stephen Moffat decided to throw this into the show. This is not something that we saw in any iteration of the show before this. So that's my view. The Doctor needs to stay who he is. We'll see what happens. Now, I would hope that the BBC are not inept enough that they would not be able to see that this would be, to use another term that I hate, problematic for the show. And in many ways, there might be no way of turning this around just because of the way TV works. Again, I've used the examples of Doctor Who, improving drastically near the end, made no difference, people were gone. The Star Trek franchise, 87 to 2005, improved drastically between 2003 and 2005. In the end, didn't make a difference. So we're going to have to see where it's going, but basically, whatever the first episode, or Chibnall's first episode with the new Doctor, will bring in viewers just out of curiosity. The trick here is to actually ensure that these viewers are retained. And you're going to have to come up with one hell of an episode to do this. I think, and say something like The 11th Hour, which I think really did grab viewers in. If you can do something like that, we might be able to see the show's ratings might return, maybe not to where they were before, but might stop steadily going downwards. But that remains to be seen. As for the episode itself, again, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10, same as last week. Issues, but I think it's still very strong, and there is a glimmer of hope that Doctor Who can turn itself around and hopefully come out of this death spiral that it's been in really since 2015 at this point. So that's my review. I might do an overview video maybe of Series 10, although it's not going to be a positive video. I think 2 very strong episodes at the end don't make up for, well, the pilot. So the first episode was okay, the last 2 are okay, but that doesn't really make up for 9 episodes of shit. So I will at some point go over it. I might even wait for the Blu-ray release. And yes, I will be buying the Blu-ray because I have every other Doctor Who episode made ever. Although I almost did debate not picking up the full series Blu-ray of this. But I will, and I think maybe at that point I will do an overview of the series after, say, give it 6 months or whatever it is that it comes out in Region 1 to look at the show with a fresh perspective and see if my opinion changes at all, but I don't think it will. So that's it for this video. So as always, everyone, thank you for watching and have a great day.